And when people are really struggling, I go, what reality could exist that has nothing to do with you? Because it's usually that they're taking some shit personally that happened in their life. It happened to them. So there's the other question, how did this happen for you? But the other question is, in what reality? Like, go wild. Again, get creative in your mind. This person said this thing to you. In what reality does this have absolutely nothing to actually do with you? Right? So you're removing yourself from the entire situation and then kind of, well, they, this, that, they, and like creating some sort of scenario where, I don't know, maybe they just had the most shit day of their life and they're speaking to themselves, but you just happen to be right in front of them. And now you're the one taking it personally. Like there's just so many scenarios that you can come up with, and they can all be helpful, but it's about pausing long enough to give yourself the opportunity to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I was meditating last night. The girls wanted to sleep in my bed because it's their last night before their 2-week vacation and away from mom. So I was like, yeah, we'll definitely have a sleepover. But I wasn't about to skip my evening meditation now because I'm like trying to stay really committed to this. And so Lennon has a side, James has a side, and we were in bed and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. You're welcome to join me or you're welcome to be quiet and close your eyes and go to sleep sort of thing. So I sat and meditated, and I've been trying to track just out of curiosity on my Aura ring. And then I learned that Aura can actually just time an unguided, they're called unguided sessions, and it just tracks it as a meditation. So I put on the app, but then it was counting down because I put on a little timer, and the girls found the countdown part really interesting. Anyways, they're not sitting still, obviously, and they're not going to be quiet, obviously. So I was fine, but then shit starts to get violent. Lennon can just be very violent, and she pulled Jamesy's hair again, and then she went to the bathroom and she came back and she stubbed her toe on the bed, like, and it hurt her bad. Like she sat on the ground crying, and I just sat there because I'm like I'm just in my I'm not meditating, obviously. I'm just trying to be quiet. And I was like, huh. Lennon, what you give to the universe will give back. And she's like, what do you mean? And it was a really fun teaching moment. And Lennon's really into systems. So like and she's a projector, so I'm sure you relate to this. She's like loves systems, right? The other day I was like January, February, March, April. Have you done this with your knuckles?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, the top knuckle is 31 days in the month, and then in between doesn't have 31 days in the month. And it's like how you can remember how many days are in each month. So I taught her this one time because we were going through everybody's birthdays. She's like, let's guess birthdays. I'm like, sure. And now she's got the system down. Like it was instant. She loves the system. So she's like, do you want to know how many days are in July? And she'd be like, boop, 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 and then she'll tell me. And so I'm like trying to teach her with systems more, like really strategically, just to like get this fucking lesson into her head.
And you have to tell her more than once. She's still a kid.
Oh, more than 100. More than 100. But what you put into the universe, you will get back. And I said, maybe because you pulled Jamesy's hair earlier and you were putting pain out into the universe. Now the universe has given you pain back via stubbing your toe. And then she started asking questions. Because now she's like, I don't understand the system. Like, right? She understands me yelling at her. That's a very familiar experience for her. She doesn't need to ask any questions. She just plugs her ears. Anyways, so she started asking all these questions about like, if I do this, if I do that, what comes back, and da da da. And so we had this really interesting conversation just about like, I don't know, what would we even call that? The law of attraction?
Well, I mean, I would still consider it karma. It's like you're saying, what you give out is what you're going to receive.
Yeah.
It's an energy exchange, I suppose, in some way.
Yeah. And so this morning she did it again.
Pulled her
now
hair
she's
or
she pulled James's hair. Because now she's in experiment mode. She's a 3-line. Human design too. So it's like trial and error. And so she pulled James's hair and she came up to me and she goes, I didn't get hurt. And I said, "Yet." I'm like, "It doesn't happen instantaneously."
Not always, for
I'm like, "Just wait and see." And then she came back again a few minutes later. She's like, "I'm still not hurt. I'm still," and she kept doing it. And I was like, "Len, it's not always physical pain. You've been thinking about this now for about 15 minutes. Is that not mental turmoil?" And then she went, "I don't care." But I'm just like feeling like I might have unlocked something.
sure. You're like, "I'm close."
I may have unlocked something a little bit deeper now for her to like just marinate in,
Mhm,
really thinking a lot about this.
mhm.
I just found that really fascinating. Because I've also been thinking a lot about fucking everything. I've had every thought there ever has been to had. I feel like my thoughts ran out, and so I had to think new thoughts.
Yeah. Like, I am now open to a different layer of thinking.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
ready.
like, okay, give me something new. Give me new thoughts. Yeah. So I just, man, I just, speaking of just jumping back into life, you know, this is one of another lesson I'm kind of taking away. And I apologize if this is a repeat. I don't even know what I've been saying at this point, but changing,
Mhm.
people, just because you've changed, you can't come back into some world and expect that people have changed around you. Coming out of this experience, I was feeling so just like, okay, I've got this. Like I'm dialed in, I am easily not going to react as angrily as I did before to those types of situations, because those are the ones that just really hurt my heart, because it's just like, oh, I don't want to be that mom. And also I don't know how to teach the lesson. I don't know how to get through. Like I don't know how to stop the violence, because it hurts my heart in many ways. It hurts my heart personal. I mean, and this is the other thing, is that it's all personal. Like
That's
it can
what's
hurt my
suffering
heart for
there.
James because she's getting injured, but it's still mine that I'm taking in. It's still the energy that like the gift I'm receiving from the interaction. I'm saying yes to the gift, right? The gift. I can say no to the gift, but how can you not when it's your kids? Like I don't want one to be hurt, and I don't want one to be doing the hurt, because I know that's also hurts inside, because she's hurting. You only hurt if you're hurting. Anyways, it's a whole bunch of hurt.
Right, and a lot of it is personal. I mean, obviously, there's a physical aspect, and we can know that there's potential hurt underneath them, but it's also something that you are applying to them, then applying to yourself.
Right. Right. So, anyways, it's all an inside job. Surprise.
Absolutely. Well, of course, because what you're saying with this idea of change is that not that there's an expectation, but for some reasons, I mean, because we live in our own perspective, in our own bubble, because you've come out differently, there's this expectation that so have other people. And so now because you're reacting differently, so then will they.
Right, right, right. Or that's the hope or something, where it's
Right.
like, because if I don't react, then there's not going to be anything else to react to. Well, no, they'll find something. They're going to create their own thing to react to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The energy is still there. You haven't picked it up. And so it has to go somewhere. It has to do something. And sometimes it's them playing it out without your reaction to it. Like, and maybe you'll notice too, does it fizzle out faster or is it
Right.
less of a blowout, the capacity of it, the magnitude. And that's also, I mean, it is change, so to speak.
And it's improvement,
Right.
right? Even I think just noticing, because this is something that you and I are very aware of, I believe, and also not everybody is. But maybe this will help give some validation to people's own paths or growth, where it's like, just acknowledging that you're in the behavior is a step in the right direction. There's so much behavior that is so unconscious, or that we just allow the habit patterns of our mind to just follow, because it's just been what's so familiar for so long. Just acknowledging that you're doing it in itself is such an important part of the growth, and then the subtle change. And it's like, you're doing the work, and I mean, everything's changing. We're all changing, doesn't matter. But you're changing if you can extend that amount of, like you're saying, that amount of time or effort or thought that you're intentionally putting into the behavior. You wanna like, there's been moments where I have fully in my brain gone, "I am gonna unleash," and it's been very intentional, right? And I don't feel guilty about those ones. I feel guilty about the ones when I'm, like, reacting. But if I go into the situation intentionally, like, the rage is there, the anger is there, but it's like, I'm proving this fucking point right here and now, and in this way, it has a different connotation or energy to it after the fact.
Yeah. The situation with your daughter is significant, I think, for many people as well, though, because yes, I agree. You and I have self awareness, but sometimes awareness has to come outside of ourselves because we don't see our own
Mhm.
actions, reactions, the way our behaviors. And so it takes another person to help us identify those things as well. And
Mhm.
the other level of the self awareness is that sort of acceptance of that is our actual behavior. There's examples all over my life with people that I'm close to where you can bring an awareness to them and it doesn't take. So there's also has to be a level of commitment on your own part to do something to even have the awareness and see it for what it is rather than also just dismissing something we don't like about ourselves. That's also the shadow work is you're identifying but also accepting that it's there because that's the only way then you'll be able to decide if it's something that you want to change by saying like this is what I do. I don't want to say who I am because that's never really true. It's a behavior that is not us. So that's what we can change. We're not changing ourselves fundamentally. We're changing the way our mind works and the thoughts that we're having. Thus creates our beliefs and our reactions.
Right, right, exactly. Everything, it's all connected. And to bring other people into it, like we kind of started this with, when there may be an expectation of change. Coming home, I've worked very hard to not have expectations. Of course I do. Of course I have expectations. I'm a human being. It doesn't mean I'm not working on not having them, right? And also, so coming into it, I'm like, I didn't have expectations of other people. I had expectations of myself. And even at that, they were too high. They were too high because I'm like, yeah, I'm solid. Like, no, you're fucking not. In fact, did you learn anything? Because there is no such thing. Everything, like at the smallest level, is all just a dissolution anyhow. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as solid. And so the whole thing, had to unravel and is still. And this is how we learn and grow. But having where I'm noticing it does feel a lot lighter, and I can laugh at things like, I've asked them, okay, yeah, well, but it's meditation time, so you can meditate with me or you can be quiet. Like, those are your options. And neither of them were an option for the kids. I knew full well it wasn't going to be an option for the kids. I can still state out loud, here's a desire that I have, right? Let's work on. But then whatever. I'm not even going to talk about not having desires either. I'm starting the session immediately wrong, and then knowing full well that that's not coming to fruition. And so then you laugh at it because they were trying so hard to be quiet that they were like making faces at each other and giggling, and it was the sweetest thing. But what do I want to do in this moment? Be mad because they're not being quiet, or do I want to laugh with them because they're doing funny things?
Right.
And it's such a fine line. It's such a fine line. So having that, like, volition of the mind to go, that side of the line is not worth it. It's not worth it. What
Exactly.
are you trying to prove?
Yes. Right. Do you want to be right or do you want to be
Happy.
right now?
You want to be right or do you want to be happy? And it makes me think of any type of, like, relationship quarrel, really. Like, take kids out of the picture. Talk about your partner, your friend, neighbors, like, whatever. Do you need to be right or do you want to be happy? And of course, there's a whole fucking thing. There's so many places in life that, yeah, I do want to be right because I am, and this situation is wrong. Let's
Right. And it
just say
requires that
distinction.
choice.
Yeah.
Both of those are proper avenues, right? There's room for everything. And so what does
The
this
moral
call
avenue,
for? Right.
right? Is it on the moral spectrum somewhere, or is it just some internal ego validation?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And the validation piece is just so, I mean, you see it straight time online, straight time with stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I work with this with my clients a lot too.
Mm.
They'll come with this happened and this person and then I said that, but they still said that and they're trying to set a boundary. And it's like where validation and boundaries collide is such an interesting topic too. Maybe we can help kind of unpack that a little bit.
I think there's also the element of what you were saying before of morality inside of the boundaries too.
Hmm.
There is an over extension, I think, of even the usage of the word boundaries and
Hmm.
saying that it's something that it's not.
Hmm.
And so now everything's a boundary and ghosting people is a boundary and doing all of these for some
Usually
immoral
hurtful.
things. Right. Yeah. And going to back to that right path. What are you cultivating with this boundary? What is the reason? What is the choice? Is it in true safety, morality, and all of these things, or is it an ego thing?
Right. And who is holding the power of the boundary? Because I hear a lot of, and I see and read a lot of clients or whomever, just, I told this person that blah, 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 and that's my boundary. And in my mind, I'm like, that person then holds the power of your boundary because if they don't listen to you, if they don't follow that boundary, then you're going to be offended. You
Your
see what I mean? Like
boundary.
they've like really effectively given their own emotions and their own control over to this other person that has to uphold the boundary. It's like why are you giving your power away?
Right.
Boundaries are personal. They're personal. You don't give somebody else a boundary about their behavior onto you. You can try, but good fucking luck, you know? But I think this is how we've all learned also how to set boundaries. This behavior that you're doing is not acceptable in my life. Therefore, you cannot do this behavior in my present.
Yes. Okay. Let's take an
It's
example.
not a boundary, in my opinion.
Because if let's go into relationships, because I see this often as well in that, and maybe this is far, but it's something that I think a lot of people have had an experience with is that someone does something to offend them, right? Let's say your boyfriend cheats on, not uncommon, right?
Yeah.
Now the
That's
boundary is
prevalent in
you
social
are
right now.
not allowed to cheat on me. That's the boundary that you're talking about, that a lot of people set. You're not allowed to do this thing. You're not allowed to talk to other girls. You're not allowed to like their pictures. You're not allowed to go out at night. You're not allowed to hang out with your friends. If you do that, I'm offended. Now we have a problem. That's giving it away to somebody else because now it's in their control and it's in their behavior that then is the reactive boundary rather than something proactive, something you're setting up for yourself. The boundary should have been we are no longer together because I
Right.
do not accept that type of behavior. If you really didn't accept that behavior, then you wouldn't, right? You wouldn't give them the opportunity to do it again, then for you to be offended and then make a new boundary.
Right. And that's not a boundary at all because even if it is a boundary that you have, boundaries are malleable, they're movable, they change. That's a barrier. So you do this thing, our relationship is over, full stop. But like boundaries are to be discussed, they're to be shaped and formed based on the person that you're experiencing. Like my boundaries with my children are wildly different than my boundaries with their dad. Wildly different, right? So, but it all has to come from in here. And we, as the individual that's holding the boundary, needs to be able to communicate it really well and really succinctly so the other person does understand and can then make their choice from a very informed place. Because that's the other thing about boundaries. You set them after the act has been done. People set boundaries after something shitty has happened.
Right?
Well,
That's
how
the
is someone
typical
supposed to
way.
know?
Yeah, that's what we see now more than anything. It's because I mean that also goes into play of people don't really know themselves enough to create boundaries before something happens proactively because we don't really even understand our own wants, desires, the things that hurt us, the things that make us happy. And so it's not until we really get a deep understanding of ourselves can we create boundaries first. And so most of us are creating boundaries after the fact. And what that also creates is the need for that person, kind of like what you're saying, to now change a behavior that is atypical to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I invite people, yes, there's boundaries. And I think with what you're saying too, this is maybe what I'm saying to a lot of my clients is that you have a boundary, yes. And also you've been operating in such a way that folks are already familiar with this usual way of being. And so when you set something up, it's going to take time for them to come to that place and meet you in that space. And so offer a little bit of grace, continue to be firm in what you say, and also know that they are human beings and maybe don't take it so personally. They maybe are trying hard, but you get to remind them because now they have to create a new neural pathway to create new behaviors of
Mm-hmm.
change. And you can't expect something from them right away. You didn't create that boundary right away. So why
Right.
would you expect someone to then take part in it right away?
Right. Right. And also, I would challenge the don't take it personally part. Take it very fucking personally. Take it very personally because the boundary's there for some reason. Like you're the one that's offended, right? Let's take a look at what, again, going back to morals, what is this thing that's so offensive to you and why? So here's an example. I don't put myself in situations a lot of times where people are gossiping. I fucking have zero time and space for negative, gossipy, garbage bullshit about other people's lives. No space for it. If I happen to be at a birthday party, with the kids and the other moms are there and whatever, and I overhear or I'm in a circle and people start talking about other moms, the boundary that I hold is I depart the conversation. I silently or make up some like children excuse. Literally, I don't need to be like, this is a boundary. I don't think you should be talking about other people. Me, 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 me. Like, I don't give a fuck. You do whatever you want with your life. I'm going to take care of me and mine. I will depart from the conversation because that's my boundary. I'm not here for this. I don't want to know. I don't need to know. I'm out. I'm going to go find something better to do with my energy. You know, there's little things like this. And I think that's the difference is, or maybe a distinction anyway between boundaries and actually being the boundary. Like, be your boundary. Don't just speak your boundary. Be it. You need to take action also to incorporate and turn this into something that's effective in your life. I don't know. Maybe it's somebody that is just consistently negative in your life. You say one thing and they're just like, yeah, well, or but this, but that, but, like that energy can be tiresome to people, especially like, and again, this is where I'm saying take it really personally because it's like, okay, well, what are you trying to get out of this communication or relationship with this person? They're always speaking negative and that bugs you. Well, what are you getting? What are you getting out of it? And
Right.
if it bugs you, why does it bug you so much? If it bugs you so much and it's like, oh, well, now I feel negative. When I'm around all this negativity, it makes me feel negative. Okay, well, that sounds like a you problem. And that's what I mean by like, take it very personally. Take it
Yeah.
very personally.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
you're going to take on somebody else's energy, that's a you problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I was saying don't take it personally in the sense of other people's actions aren't generally speaking at you.
Right.
It's
Yeah. The
personal to
at part.
them. It's
Totally.
personal to them. The things that they're doing aren't to purposely annoy you.
Mm-mm.
If you think that, then you're on a whole other spectrum of being in your ego. And so again, have a look at that. Why is it that is one annoying to you and why do you think that that's on purpose?
Mm-hmm. Yes. That part, the on purpose part. Okay. I want to kind of circle back to the validation piece too, because again, like here's an example. I shared recently that MSN article. I don't self promote a ton. I don't really know why. I don't really care, I guess. Like it's just whatever. But it also felt like I'm going to share this. This is cool.
Something to celebrate.
It's something to
Absolutely.
celebrate. And I got such beautiful comments and feedback and this and that and this and that. And I was like, cool. It was just something nice to receive. And it made me also think like, people need this, I think. People like my older experience, I'm assuming that this is still true. My older experience of social media is that we post and then we want the likes. That's kind of the whole point. But then the wanting of the likes turns into the need of the validation. And if it's not validation, then what is it? Rejection, whatever. And then the negative comments and this and that and the attacking and the anonymous fucking power comments and the comment arguments and just like social media is insane with all of that. I imagine. And again, like I'm not immersed in it because I don't care. I don't have the space for it. I don't want to, I'm not going to get an argument online. Someone has something shitty to say about me. Like when I got my first hater on YouTube, when they made some negative comment, I was like, oh my God, someone commented. Like the fact that someone commented was just cool to me. Positive, negative doesn't matter. And I say that from a place of I understand that not everybody is that confident. I've worked really hard in my life to be really fucking confident in what I do, say, be. So when I put something out there, it's done. I feel like we feel this way about this podcast and what we're doing here. We're doing this for us. You
Mhm.
know, I would be overjoyed if it's benefiting other people and that they enjoy it. Maybe they get a couple laughs here and there. Overjoyed. And also, that's not the point, right? So I feel solid, again, solid in this. You go ahead and reject me. Reject me. That has nothing to do with me, myself, or I, which brings me to a whole other topic of who is I, who is me, who is mine. But I'll just
Doesn't
pause on
exist.
that for a second, you know? So it's like, why do we feel so fucking rejected all the time? Stop!
Yeah.
For the love
Well,
of
you
God,
you said it
stop.
in why you don't. It's the confidence and the conviction of yourself, what you say, how you come across. Not everyone is there or even really close. I too have taken so much of my time to specifically work on that so that I can come to a place where I don't give a shit. And people ask me even today, like, how did you how are you like this? Why are you
Right.
like this?
That's
Where
the
did that
question.
come from? And for so long it was like, I feel like I've always been this way, and the truth is that's not true, but I have worked up to it for most of my life. And so it feels like a personality trait, but it also was a learned behavior that I built myself up to. I think we just, and I say this humbly, but also because I don't care, we surpass a lot of people in that. Because we truly, there's a time where I used to write things out specifically before I said them to make sure that it was true, understandable, and very pointed because I wanted my point to come across without the ability to question it. It's very clear what I'm trying to say. And I did that for so long, but this was back in middle school.
Right.
Now I'm at a place where I don't have to write these things down.
Yeah.
It is clear, it's concise, it's succinct. If you don't know what I'm saying, you're not listening.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you're not, well, yeah, you're not listening. You're taking it personally. You're turning it into something that you need it to be for you to feed whatever demon you have inside you. But
Mm.
that's, I mean, two questions, the why and the how. Like, why? Why? Why do you want this to continue to be your life? Like, why do people love suffering so fucking much? It blows my mind.
And that's
When
always
there is such action you can take. You literally don't need to suffer. You don't need to suffer.
so
And
it's
you're
like coming out of a
suffering.
Vipassana retreat where you had time to sit in the suffrage and know I'm making this. I'm creating this right now.
Yeah. Yeah, creating it all very intentionally. So the why and then the how, right? So you wrote things out, you did the things and similarly, I overthink. I overthought fucking everything. I had every scenario in my mind, every response. If it's this, then I get that. If it's this, then I get that. Which avenue do I want to take? Which one feels better?
Favorite game to play when I was younger, I called it the scenario game. And I'm like, oh, let's play the scenario game. And I'd go left and I'd go right. And then I would even bring other people in. And it's like, if I did this or this, if I said this or this happened, what would you do? Whoa. And then I would just play out all of these scenarios, not only with myself in my mind, but with other people. And that's why I got feedback too.
Right. Right. That's awesome. I love the scenario game. I mean, I still do that.
It's still good.
It
It's
all
still
just
one of
happens
my
up here.
favorites.
Yeah. Just happens up here, and then I get clear enough to make whatever decision I need to make. Does it mean I'm constantly content? Absolutely fucking not. Obviously, I just talked about how much rage I have about my children. And also, I'm not taking it personally. Like, the only part I'm taking personal is that they're my kids and I'm the parent and I need to be a role model in it. That's the part I take personally because I take that job very fucking seriously, right? Because I take everything very fucking seriously. I commit to something, I am like extra committed.
Yeah, in that sense, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So the how, well, like, how do you stop? How do you take a pause in the habit, right? So I teach this in my kosha course also. We all have these patterns of the mind that we follow, and they're so habituated, like that's why we follow them, because it's just we feed them over and over. And one of the visualizations or stories, or it's always a visualization for me because I where I live. There's a bonfire, right? Call it the bonfire of suffering, misery, whatever. It's the aversions and the clinging. Everything goes in this fire and we're constantly just feeding it. We're feeding the fire with every thought we have, everything we say, every desire we have, every conflict we have, just constantly putting more logs on the fire. And the fire is just building. Just because we pause the first time in the habit of the mind and we catch ourselves and go, ooh, this is me responding to something in a very familiar way that I don't want to respond this way anymore, right? So that's step one, that awareness of that we're even in the energy, like we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
Maybe in that one moment, you did not put a log on the fire, right? So you're effectively removing some of the fuel. It doesn't mean that that fire is already acres large because you've been feeding it your entire life, and fire will continue to burn.
On its own.
So it's still burning the miseries of your past, of everything that you've ever added to the fire. Just because you stop at one time doesn't mean the fire goes out. It also doesn't mean that you have to put water or cover or put the fire out. What it means is that the more that you can stop adding to the fire, stop adding the fuel with the negativity, with the anger, with the poor choices, with the reactions, mainly the reactions, right? Because if we're responding, again, it's with volition of the mind, it's with intention. That's not necessarily adding fuel to the fire. It's when we're reacting from those habit patterns that we are. The fire will just burn itself out. There isn't actually much that we need to specifically do besides just stop adding fuel to the fire. At some point, the fire is going to run out of fuel
Mhm.
and it'll just turn to ash and blow away along with all your miseries. So I found that just such a cool visual.
Mhm.
He shared that concept in many different visuals. That was the one that stuck with me.
At the retreat.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I'm a visualize person as well, but it makes sense to this process that we can go through and actually use the visualization in those moments where we're struck with.
Right. Right. And
And
this
that's
is the whole
part of
training too, right? Like this is the instruction. We sit, we meditate, we notice our sensations because it's the sensations that create the
potential
reaction.
reactions, right?
So the more that we can sit with the sensation and recognize that it's there, the more we build the capacity to not react to the sensation when it arises. We're just so used to sensation, reaction, sensation, reaction, sensation, reaction. We can't go sensation, pause, respond, right? So in the kosher course, I kind of like I have a little cycle, and I just talk about like where in the cycle do you think you could pause? And it's either like at the sensation or at the perception. But now I'm like rethinking the whole thing. Like I'm redoing everything. I've overthought it. So I'm like, damn, time for this now. Because we can also shift our perception of it, which is another really powerful thing that I love to teach to my clients and to everyone I talk to. What's another perception of it? Just that question on how else could you see this?
Absolutely. That's what I would say that I probably used the most is my mind thinks in dual nature. And because that is true, if this one thing is your current perception, then what is the opposite of it? Or what is something that's
What's another
different,
reality?
right? What is different? And there's so many, it's endless. All of the possibilities are possible. And so I love to tell people this, especially for the folks that are overanalyzing. It's like, use that over analytical mind. It's not a problem, it's a tool that you can use.
Mhm.
It's just been focusing on the things that are adding the fuel to the fire. So instead, allow that over analysis and that tremendous view of all
Creativity.
possibilities to get you to shift the perspective. It doesn't have to be this 180. It can just be a small change that is different, that then creates a different feeling. It's going to have a different reaction because now it's no longer fuel to the fire. It's a new possibility.
Yeah. And when people are really struggling, I go, "What reality could exist that has nothing to do with you?" Because it's usually that they're taking some shit personally that happened in their life, and it happened to them. So there's the other question, how did this happen for you? But the other question is, in what reality, like, go wild. Again, get creative in your mind. This person said this thing to you. In what reality does this have absolutely nothing to actually do with you? Right? So you're removing yourself from the entire situation and then kind of, oh, well, they, this, that, they, and like creating some sort of scenario where, I don't know, maybe they just had the most shit day of their life and they're speaking to themselves, but you just happen to be right in front of them. And now you're the one taking it personally. Like there's just so many scenarios that you can come up with, and they can all be helpful, but it's about pausing long enough to give yourself the opportunity to do it too. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way we can pause is if we're aware.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Back to the original problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that was, I mean, it wasn't a question, but that was my next train of, a lot of people don't get to the pause. They don't even see uh, the power in the pause, but not even the power, but the actual placement of where that is supposed to be. And it really does come from the awareness, because what awareness does is it brings you back to the present. We're always projecting, especially with like this validation, into the future. We're just like guessing what is going to happen or what's going to be the reaction of someone else or even our own reaction of a thing. And so there has to be a space when you recognize what is there. And that's when you become the observer. And so then you can have a pause because you're seeing from a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. And even like the text messaging with friends and things like this, right? Look, like seeking for validation, let's say. I actually heard Aware and Aggravated talking about this. I love that guy. Leo Skeppy.
I love,
I love him. I love him.
I
He's
love
so enjoyable. He's so, and I'm just like, this is the energy.
I eat him up. I follow him on Instagram and I wait. I'm now a stan. I've never been one, but here I go. And I'm like, oh, what did he post today?
A stan?
Yeah,
What's
from
that?
Eminem. Stan, the guy that was his fan. You don't know that Eminem
Oh
song?
yeah, I do. Okay, got it. Yeah. He writes the letter. Yeah. Actually, that's a really good
I
example.
call it a super fan, Stan. I guess it was a super.
A really good example because Stan is writing this letter expecting a response. He's taken
It's so personally. Well, and then you notice through the video, if you've watched the music video,
yeah.
he in his mind, how he's playing out this
He hates me. He
validation,
doesn't
right?
right.
He passed me by and didn't notice me, and it was on purpose. And then you will see the other perspective of like why it happened, right?
Right. Right. This is a
So
great example, Stan. This is a great example of the point I'm trying to make. It's like we reach out to other people for our own sense of security. And I'm saying security because it's like if this person doesn't validate what I've just said to make sure that everything is okay, I'm not okay. But I think where the work is and what I can confidently say I've done, and I pretty confidently say you've done, is that we've removed that as a necessary step in our own becoming. I own all of my shit. If I'm feeling a certain way, I own it. I don't expect somebody else to make me feel better or to validate anything for that matter because it's not necessary. I'm here to validate myself. It doesn't mean I don't like again going back to those comments. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy when other people are recognizing my accomplishments, but I don't require them to feel proud of my own. That is such an important step in this whole process, because until you can do that, I think you're not even going to be aware that you're trying to get it externally. Until you
Mm.
can become aware of, like, before you hit send on the text, reread the text and go, what am I trying to accomplish from this? What do I need here that maybe I can provide to myself this one time, you know? Pull that power back in. Pull it in and let that be the thing that starts to build and grow, just
Yes.
for your own fucking sake.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because Stan drives off a bridge, doesn't he?
Yes, with the wife in the
Oh,
pregnant
yeah, the trunk of the
girlfriend.
car. Yeah, yeah, it's a whole disaster because he let his mind decide something that was not even close to reality.
Right.
Yeah, that is really powerful.
Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
also how it just speaks to how powerful that drive of external validation can be if you're not providing it for yourself.
Mhm.
And one thing that I have been speaking immensely about, especially with many of my clients right now, is that self sustaining safety and security. It has to begin here first. I cannot provide safety to you. I can help you get to that place where you're sustaining it yourself, but I cannot give you safety. I cannot validate you enough where you feel self-sustained in that way. That really has to come
Right.
from you.
Having this visual of the whole body, the whole self, right? And if you're taking in validation from externally, those pieces of you, those pieces of the puzzle that are getting plugged, like here's an Abmari piece, here's a this piece, here's a that piece, here's a Lennon piece, here's a James piece. Those aren't mine. Those aren't my pieces. If you go away, you're taking those pieces with you, and I'm no
Right.
longer whole. What is making you whole? It better be of you,
Hmm.
right?
Right. And that's the perception that people have of incompleteness. That's not a reality that I subscribe to
Me
personally.
neither. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what you mean, and I don't know what that is because I do not understand taking on a thing that isn't mine, doesn't belong to me, and has, at the end of the day, nothing to do with me at all. And so that's also the question, like, what does that have to do with you? Usually nothing.